Chapter 23. It took the Parthians the rest of the day to deal with their own. Odyssean and the others attended, naturally. The deaths all struck him hard, but worse were the ones he knew. Despite his attempt to save her, Odyssean found out that Barda was yet among the victims. Her heart, broken by her son's death, could not survive the aftermath. They found her unbreathing, the boy cradled in her arms. In death, they had a piece of their expression that was complemented by a love between them one could all see. The boy and his mother were laid on the pile together and burned as one. And as they vanished in flame, the sadness in Odyssean changed to fury again. Fury at Lilith, at Lucian, at those like the Triune in the cathedral, who cared for nothing but their dominance over all else at such costs. Try as he might, Odyssean could not quell that fury, but by the time the last body had been properly burned, and the day had once more faded, he knew that there was but one course of action, a course that, for the moment, had a particular focus. "The Triune must be brought down, Mendel," he said when they were alone. "I may be mad to think, but I plan to do what I can to see their temple crumble. They've done too much to many of us." He expected his brother to dissuade him, but instead Mendel only said, "If that is what you wish, I will always stand by your side, Odyssean." Odyssean was grateful, but could not let it just end there. Mendel, what's happening to you?" For the first time, a troubled expression briefly crossed his brother's countenance. As Mendel and brother buried their emotion again, he replied, "I do not know. I can only tell you that I do not fear it anymore, and that, so long as I can, I will do whatever it allows me to help you." Staring into his brother's eyes, Odyssean saw no guile there, only honesty. He wanted to demand more of Mendel, but also saw that to do so would yet tread on ground neither were quite ready for just yet. When he instead patted Mendel's shoulder, his sibling looked both relieved and grateful. "That's all I can ask," the older brother said. "That's all." He expected Cerinthia to condemn him for even thinking of such a plan, Achilleus having already paid the price, but the hunter's death had instead galvanized the trader's daughter. When Odyssean told her what he had decided, she showed no hesitation in agreeing. "My father's dead because of them. Achilleus, who foolishly loved me and who I loved for too short, is dead because of them. You want to bring down the Triune and the cathedral too? And I'll be there, Odyssean. All I ask is that you help me to learn as much as I can, so that I'll be able to stand up at the front of the struggle and pay them for what they've done." Her vehement response worried him, for Odyssean did not want Cerinthia throwing herself into danger so that she could rejoin her lost love. He would have said as much, but Cerinthia suddenly turned to the remaining Parthians and shouted, "Odyssean has spoken! The Triune must pay for all of this! We will tear down the temple! Who is with us?" There was a moment of silence as Romus and the others drank this in, and then determined cheers broke out. "Down with the temple, and death to the Triune!" filled the jungle. "Someone must summon the others," shouted the former cutpurse. "They'll want to join us." And with that, what had become as a but a bitter notion in Odyssean's head had become the start of an uprising. He stared at what he had wrought, startled to also realize that he did not regret the fervor of those with him. They were not his followers, not in his opinion, but companions, comrades in suffering, who had as much right as him to demand justice, even against demons and other forces. "The world is ours," he muttered, his own words drawing the attention of the shouters. They grew silent, wanting to hear him better. "We are its children. Our existences are intertwined." He hesitated. "And most of all, we are our own masters. Our lives are ours to control, no one else's. That is our birthright as much as the powers growing within us. Our birthright. This brought renewed cheers. Odyssean let it go on for a time, then raised his hands for silence. Romus, he called. Are there still among you those who can track well? Aye, Master Odyssean, and if they can't, I can. We leave at first light, with the city of Taraja as our goal. A good-sized city, Mindel. His brother considered. It is not Kazan, but nothing is. Yet it is a good first destination. He knew what Odyssean had in mind. To face the temple and very likely the cathedral, and the mage clans, their numbers would have to be much greater. Odyssean had no doubt that there would be those in Taraja who would be open to what he offered. There would be also those who would oppose him, and so Taraja would in addition become a proving ground for his uprising, or a burial ground. We head to Taraja then, he said to the rest. The riders must go back and tell whatever Parthans wish to hear that they are invited to join us there. Tell them to head there. I'll see to the message myself, Master Odyssean, replied Romus with increasing resolve. 3 other men let out shouts of equal enthusiasm. The task is yours then, you 4. The rest of you remember, first light. They cheered again, caught up in the imagined spectacle of sweeping across the world and gathering with them throngs of enthusiastic newcomers. Odyssean let them celebrate, knowing that it very well may be otherwise. They might very well be slaughtered before they even reach the gates of Taraja. They would follow you anywhere, Mindel commented. Even to the burning hells and the high heavens, his brother returned, recalling the mythic places of which Lilith had spoken. He could scarcely imagine an eternal conflict between celestial beings, but even less could imagine him and his kind remaining as potential fodder for whichever side triumphed. Mindel nodded, even there, if it should prove necessary. He glanced in startlement, not certain whether Mindel was jesting or not. Certainly, his brother did not seem the type to jest. Not anymore. They continued to let the Parthans cheer, if not the burning hells and high heavens. At the very least there would be demons, and more aplenty here in Sanctuary, chief among them Lilith. Lucian had been correct about one thing. Odyssean had no doubt that she would find a way to come back into his life, and then attempt to either control or take it. Whichever she desired, Odyssean did not shy from facing her. She would find him far more than he thought, much favored her in the struggle, but he was prepared. My birthright, he whispered. Then thinking of all those there, Odyssean corrected himself. Our birthright. Our world. His determination grew greater, yet, as he thought once more of Achilleos and those others who had perished for no good reason. Our destiny. Yes, answered Mindel, hearing Odyssean despite how quiet he had spoken. That and more. That and much, much more. And thinking about it, Odyssean knew that he was right. An uneasiness had spread through the main temple of the Triune. Few understood it, but all felt it. The high priestess pretended as if all was normal. But those who watched them close saw that even their eyes held some hint of concern. In the private sanctum of the Primus, the demon Ostroga hung deep in an upper corner, his form completely shadowed from any who might enter. Around him scurried several 8-legged fiends, all moving with an anxiety he did not outwardly reveal. But mixed with that anxiety was a growing thought. Lucian had not returned from whenever he came. It was far past any reasonable hour of return, while the son of Mephisto had said one thing concerning where he had vanished to. Ostroga had not taken that at face value. He knew that Lucian saw in this human something more than mere potential for the ranks of the Morlu, or any other force benefiting the Triune. Lucian had been on the verge of the unthinkable, perhaps wondering if the Nephilim could raise him up above even his father and the other primevals. Yet, Lucian was not back, and Astroga now contemplated how that worked in his favor. Perhaps he should take power on the aspect of the Primus. He should command the power of the Triune. Yes, after all, it could certainly not be turned over to such a fool as Gulag. Gulag was pure chaotic force. He had no wit for commanding. Suddenly, the demon sensed another presence in the chamber. He tensed, ready to spring if it turned out to be an intruder. Astroga had eaten recently, but he always had a taste for blood. But to his surprise, it was the one being he had not expected.
"Lucian is back," he announced. "And has Lucian done what he wished?" "In some ways, yes. In some ways, no," the Primus remarked cryptically. "Astroga?"
Lucian's tone almost sounded as if he was not certain who spoke. But that could not be right. The spider demon chose to move on with the conversation.
"Was there sign of her? Of Lilith?"
The Primus was quiet for a moment, then nodded. "Some, but I do not think we shall see much of her for a while."
Good, good.
Lucian put a hand on the tall throne upon which he generally sat during audiences. As Astroga watched, the towering figure settled into it, then looked up into the shadows where the other demon lurked. "I would be alone, Astroga."
"How long?"
There were times when the son of Mephisto demanded this. Generally, the arachnid would retreat to one of the towers until Lucian was done with whatever it was he was working on. As the demon chosen to lead, Lucian had benefits that Astroga often envied.
"From this point on," returned Lucian, expression hardening, "find yourself a place to spin a new web. The towers, perhaps? If I ever need you, I will summon you."
He was being cast out of the chambers forever? Astroga almost protested, then considered that Lucian was, after all, the son of Mephisto, whereas he was only a favorite of the Lord of Terror, Diablo, and would not defend him against Lucian.
"As is wished,"
the shadowy arachnid muttered.
"As is wished."
He summoned his children to him, then breathed upon the web so as to dissolve it. Then, with one last and somewhat angry look, Astroga vanished. The figure on the throne reached out with sorcery to survey the room. No one was present, not even one of the spider's over-inquisitive pets. The chamber was magically sealed off from all others. The Primus let out a slight laugh, one with what might have been called a feminine aspect to it.
"Come to me, my love," Lucian said with the voice of his sister. "I am waiting anxiously for you."
And in the Cathedral of Light, the prophet nodded. All was going exactly as he had dictated. The sin war continues in the scales of the serpent.